Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rise Above the Grind podcast with myself, Alissa, the Consultress, bringing you awesome people that have interesting perspective in today's age of disruption. We don't need to grind it away to become successful. In fact, often less is more, and getting really clear on what we're about and what we're trying to create in the world creates that blue ocean strategy, that doing less and achieving more. So I get the opportunity in my day-to-day business life to meet amazing influencers, people who have amazing success stories in entrepreneurship. And I'm so grateful to welcome Jason to the stage here with us today. Jason, Mr. No More 9 to 5 Club, how are you?
I'm amazing and blessed. Cheers, by the way, and grand rising. Let's go.
Let's rise together. Here we go. Here shall we? The reason why I brought you here today, Jason, is because I've witnessed you in a couple of different ways rise above that situation of frustration, make a new life, take a pivot, and say, you know what? The way things have been is not the way they always are going to continue to be. And I've watched you talk about these pivots that you've had in your life and in your business. So give us a little bit of an intro about where you are today in providing value for this world as an entrepreneur, and then we'll walk back a little bit as to kind of the impetus that allowed that shift in your focus to happen.
Absolutely. So, where I'm at today, CEO of the No More 9 to 5 Club, I'm able to be comfortable enough to focus on helping other people. I'm able to be comfortable enough in my life to rise to the level of being a trusted advisor and building up my own personal brand and influence by helping other people solve problems and putting that first and front and center to me getting paid from it. And that's because I've been able to retire early because I built multiple passive income streams. So as I go on this entrepreneurial journey now, having retired from a sales career and doing other things, I realize that there's a lot of gaps to excellence out in the world. And as you said, I'm a quick pivoter, I'm a quick thinker, I'm a quick doer. If I learn something new, if I realize that I'm wrong or I made a mistake or there's room for improvement, I want to implement it right away. I don't want to show up tomorrow wrong again because people are going to think I'm dumb or slow or lazy, and I'm none of those things. Never have been called those in my life, at least not twice, because
Or
I
to
took a
your
lot of
face.
pride. Yeah, I took a lot of pride in my work, in the results, in the lack of excuses that I could give the world to for being the not best version of me. So I realized I had no excuses for the world to not do what I wanted to do, and I set my goals and I accomplished those goals over and over and over again. And so I want to teach other people how to do the same thing because once they set their mind to something, once they convince themselves it's happening, the only thing that's going to stop them is them.
Totally true. So what our mind conceives, our reality starts to bend to make that come true. And so what I find when I hear people just kind of in that grind mode, in that like toiling away, is like they've lost connection with their purpose, or they may have lost connection with why they're doing the thing that they're doing on repeat, and it may have lost some luster. They may feel like they're captive to that initiative, whether it's their own business or a job or career. In this case, being able to move out of that into another creative space. So when I talk about rise above the grind, what I'm really trying to hammer home into is sometimes the pain that it takes us to make a pivot like that, to make a choice, to do something differently. Because if we continue to do what we've always done, we're going to continue to get what we've always gotten. And so, Jason, to me, in your story, there were a couple of different times where you made decisions to move out of a situation that was either no longer ideal or downright painful and do something better for you, something that was more fulfilling. I do want to talk about those passive income streams that you mentioned and kind of how that went, but I want you bring us all the way back to your first realization in your career where you had to, or you decided to make a pivot out of a situation that no longer fit you, and describe that a little bit and what the decision created for you.
Okay, well, I don't know how far back you want to go, and I don't even know if we can call it a career, but I grew up poor. I worked simple jobs. Before I was even allowed to work at Subway or Walmart, I was pushing lawnmowers in my neighborhood, asking people if I could mow their lawn. So I realized having a mom who wanted to be on a strict budget, understood financial literacy, and was blessed enough to teach it to me, that she wasn't going to give me money just because I put my hand out. So I've had this work ethic ever since I was a child of being able to go out and get what I want because nobody's going to hand it to me. Not my mommy, not my daddy, not God, not the church, not the government. I have to be able to provide and take care of myself. So thank you, Mom, for all that independence. From career after career, from the military, serving honorably. I was a prison guard in Guantanamo Bay and assisted with CIA interrogations to the state of Florida to my sales career. I kept noticing that I could basically achieve the pinnacle of performance wherever I went. From the military, I was selected by the CIA. I got 2 Navy and Marine Corps achievement medals. When I worked for the state of Florida, helping disabled veterans overcome barriers to employment, we broke records. We set a campaign out to get 100 veterans hired in 100 days. We did over 430 veterans. We made the newspapers, the government took notice, asked us what we did, and asked us to teach the rest of the offices. So everywhere I went, we looked for room for improvement. I looked for room for improvement. And I just noticed from one career to the next that I was providing a lot of value in doing that. I was setting the bar higher than what most of my teammates were setting. And that's why leadership was looking at me like, promote that guy, give him a raise, keep him. And from there, I think the final realization came in 2020, after I finished in 2019 as the #1 sales guy in the nation's largest family-owned pest control company. And my heart was pounding with excitement, not anxiety, going up on stage, getting my award and my bonus checks, and realizing that while everybody was cheering me on, I kept only a small percentage of the amount of money I made for that organization year after year after year of climbing to the top. And I knew that I could keep a larger share of that value. And I knew that the same value that was able to earn up to $1 million a year, I could apply to other industries, to other businesses, and take whatever I learned here and pass that on to other people. So I don't know if I directly answered your question, but through
Yeah,
my interpretation.
I'm hearing there's upper limits, right? That you get to a place where you've expanded only so much, and then there's resistance at that point where you need to take on a new role or you need to kind of seek growth. Because myself, as I'm listening to this story, I watched my career in financial services. I was in banking and wealth management, and every time I would take that ownership that I learned from growing up in an entrepreneurial family and take 100% responsibility for my role, for the people that I interacted with, I would make great changes happen. But then I would hit these resistance points where there were people who were saying, shh, sit down, shut up, don't rock the boat. It's not broken. We really don't want it to be fixed. We want to just bide our time and do our thing. And I found myself in those situations getting like an attitude problem where I couldn't just sit around and be okay with things not evolving where there could be improvement. So for me, as I kept hitting those barriers, I would quit the job, move on to something where I felt excitement again, something where it was growth for me. But there was a lot of shame that came along with that. My family and my peers would look at me and go, "Why do you keep resetting? How come you are not satisfied just with what everybody else in the whole world is satisfied with, getting a job and being there till they get the Rolex?" Entrepreneurs, we have this inner spark, this drive that doesn't allow us really to settle for same old, same old. Even when we create the innovation and then normalize it to ourselves, anybody else, like, we're constantly looking for growth and excitement, but also being able to create that next level of value. Like, I believe entrepreneurs save the world because we're not settling for the same old, same old. We want to see improvement at every stage of the game. And that's kind of, Jason, what I heard when you were talking about going from, mowing lawns to being in the military to get, to people noticing and wanting to promote you because you kept taking on and mastering these things. But moving into your own businesses now, how has that tendency to never really settle provided some training ground for you to become more of who you're meant to be?
Sure. So, there's different levels of hard, right? Some people say it's hard to exercise, it's hard to eat healthy, it's hard to invest their money. But I'll tell you what, it's really hard to be sick. It's really hard to be in a hospital. It's really hard to be broke. So you really have to choose your heart first and foremost, right? And what you said is so spot on and resonates with me because I remember getting to number one thinking, what do I do next? Do I just maintain number one? And that wasn't my style. I actually talked to management about other opportunities. And at that point, I knew that there was room for growth, but my room for growth where I was done. I had achieved the pinnacle, right? So I think constantly looking for that room for growth, that evolution, not for other people, not for my kids, not for my family, definitely not for the bosses who at some point just wanted me there because I was their show horse. They were like, yeah, I'm Jason's manager. No, you didn't do anything special. So it was really, really important to realize that it was my own self-worth, my own inner value and inner critic that knew it was a choice. It wasn't even like I had to struggle every day to make this decision, that knew that every day I wake up, I'm going to perform better than I did yesterday. I'm going to look for growth. I'm going to look to learn something new. I've always had this naturally inquisitive mind. So in the role I'm in now, I've been learning digital marketing. I've been meeting very high level people, been exposed to concepts that I never even thought about existed a few years ago. And as I'm naturally taking all this knowledge in, I'm thirsty for it, I'm digesting it, I'm regurgitating it to the people who have no idea this knowledge exists. The people that were where I was maybe 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago in various aspects. And I'm not saying they're behind the curve. Some of these people have knowledge that I need access to too. So I respect the value that everybody brings to the table, but I also know mine. I know that there's different levels of mastery, and I don't want to act like a jack of all trade, but I clearly mastered a few crafts in my day. And it's important to get really good at one thing instead of just being a little bit good at everything. So if you can get good at one thing, you can then focus on another thing, and then another thing, and then another thing. And that's really what it takes to create your own economy. Because I couldn't, if I was just a really good sales guy, a really good trusted advisor, a really good networking, who's going to deliver the stuff that I'm selling? Right? Who's going to oversee all the operations and do the executive part and do the marketing to make sure I'm not having to go out there and cold call people? So there's a lot of cogs in a wheel that comes to a business that a lot of entrepreneurs, they kind of get bogged down in. I feel like a lot of people really get stuck thinking that they have to master all these new skills or they have to at least get a little bit good at it. But the problem is if you're a business owner and you're not good at doing all these different things and you divert your attention from what you're already good at to basically go get a few new degrees so you can wear all the hats that need to be worn in a business, you're taking the long road. You're doing it alone, right? And there's a saying, and it's not always true. They say, if you want to go far, you go alone. Or if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. I totally believe you can go further together. As a society, that is how the human civilization is built. But it's not always faster on your own, especially when it comes to consulting and mentorship and business building. You can read all the encyclopedia books you want, but having a human that has already read it, understands it all, that you can ask a direct question to and get a direct answer, that's value.
It and I love that you're connecting it with the people around you. But I want to just highlight the piece that you said around, one getting good at one thing at a time, mastering and having one North Star at a time. Because when we feel like we have to be jack of all trades, we are absolutely masters of none. And entrepreneurship does require, not only do we have our skill sets around our strategy, how we're going about implementing those, and what is it that we're measuring. All these are different skill sets that pile up on top of one another. But guess what? To be in business is not to be a one-man army, even if you're a solopreneur. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are those partners that you need around you? And how are you showing up as a leader? These are all skill sets that come into play to become a successful and exponential growth leader. Who are you empowering? At the end of the day, the reason why entrepreneurship, I believe, saves the world is because we're constantly putting all of these skill sets together to create empowerment for ourselves, for the people that we serve, and the communities that emanate from there. So when we have the opportunity to look around the landscape of what are we doing as entrepreneurs, I have this diagnostic tool that I bring people through in this simple methodology I've developed to be able to harness and add all these skill sets up. Where do you have strength and mastery? And also, where is the greatest opportunity for growth? Because like you were saying, one North Star, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I was taught that by one of my favorite mentors and business partners in the world, who happens to be in the studio audience right here. She just popped in. But following One North Star, and once you understand where you are on all these levels and skill sets, being able to refine your strategy about where you're going next, how to leverage all that you have. This is a consistent discipline that we as entrepreneurs must engage on a regular basis, looking at the chessboard, looking at where all the pieces are, and being able to make a decision about where are my results coming from? What is the 20% of my activities that are creating 80% of the results right now? And being willing to double down there. It's an act of personal growth and courage that involves all the people that are around you. And maybe you need to upgrade those. Maybe you need to change who the 5 people are you're hanging out with. And you as a leader, are you demonstrating who you're becoming in the world? And do you have examples in your life that are allowing you, like you're saying, Jason, do you have people around you that can inspire you in places where, you want to grow and learn next? There's no ultimate arrival point, but being willing to use your community as a place of working together, collaborating, and learning from other people what they know so you can better yourself. Like, this is the ultimate dynamic, I think, that allows us to move confidently forward. So thank you so much for sharing that journey of yours. And if you had advice to your 3 years ago self around creating more and doing less and creating more, what wisdom would you have to go back in time and tell yourself in the 3 or 5 year ago time frame in order to give yourself a leg up in today's day and age to move forward?
3 to 5 years ago, I would have said, don't trust everybody, trust yourself. All right, follow your intuition and don't feel like you got to close everybody else's gaps to excellence.
You heard it here. Wisdom from the road. Understand that you don't have to close all those opportunities, but that everything is a conversation. I love that. And knowing that, hard sales, it was something that I had to learn too. It's like every prospect doesn't need to come to the closing table. It's a discovery and a conversation. If there's a right fit, then you can make an offer. And unlearning that for myself, I totally would give myself that advice 3-4 years ago now. Because the world went through a lot of disruption, and we are here on the leading edge, bringing valuable conversations to people today, live, solving the emergent problems of the world. So, Jason, let us know where people can go to find you, whether that's on social media or you want them to go to your website. Where can people go to learn more about you?
Sure. So the no more 9to5club.org. You can put that in your search bar, go to the website. You can connect with us. We have a WhatsApp community. We have over 24 hours of live virtual masterminds every single month. A whole lot of amazing value in the community from experts like Alissa and Maury and John, and hopefully we can meet some of the other ones as well. And, real quick, do I have time for a quick 60-second story?
Sure.
All right. So this is about keeping it simple. So I own multiple houses. I got into real estate after the sales career. I bought houses for rentals. And one day I had a leaking shower cartridge. Drip, drip, drip. I took the time. I know I'm pretty handy. I drove to Home Depot. I got the parts. I came back to the house. I started trying to fix it. Got the wrong parts. Went back to Home Depot. Came back to the house. I busted my knuckles. I said a few curse words. It took a few hours, but I finally got it fixed. A few weeks later, the same shower cartridge starts dripping again. Mind you, I had spent like 50 or 60 bucks on the shower cartridge 2 weeks ago in 2 hours of time, but something told me I didn't want to mess with it again. And I decided to stay focused on what I'm good at. I called a plumber. He came within a half hour, charged 90 bucks, got it fixed within a half hour. And I went and sat by my pool and made a few calls. I made a few sales and I made about 400 bucks in that same 1 hour period. So at the time I was averaging about $150 an hour when I worked. I should have stayed focused in my lane of expertise because the plumber charged less than what I make per hour. Make sure you do the same.
Amen, dude. Amen. So thank you so much for being here for Rise Above the Grind. We don't have to do things the way they've always been done. In fact, what got us here will keep us here. So stay tuned for more episodes with more amazing folks like Jason, with stories about how they overcame some of that frustration and feeling stuck by constantly questioning what is possible, taking a good look at the inside of who they wanted to be and become, and putting all that together. I am your hostess, the Consultress. We broadcast every single week, so don't miss another episode. Make sure you click like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you have found most valuable so we can continue to deliver amazing insights in this age of disruption. Jason, thanks a million for being here.
Thank you.